Your salary isn't enough. It doesn't matter if it's a big or a small salary, it's not enough. And in this video, we'll go over a potentially very powerful way, though not necessarily an easy way to drastically improve your financial future. And this is especially the case if you feel stuck in a salaried job. Now, I think we've all heard about how it's worth trying to diversify your income, having multiple sources where money is coming in, and then if any one of those sources goes away, then you have others to rely on. And there's a lot of merit to that. And when we look at salaries in particular, what is a salary in the first place? A salary is a trade between an employer and an employee. The employee is trading their time, and then the employer will give them money for that time. It's a very simple arrangement, and I think it makes a lot of sense, but I think people mistake the simplicity of that arrangement for its safety. Because when you rely on a salary, you're relying on your employer to pay that salary. And you're also relying on the fact that they need to keep you on as an employee, which is never a guarantee. Don't get me wrong, having a salary is great, but don't mistake it for overall security, because there's always a chance that you lose that job. Basically, all of your income, if all you're relying on is your salary, all of your income is in the hands of someone else. And that someone else might be your manager who makes hiring decisions. It might be a department head if you're in a larger corporation, where you have layers and layers of hierarchies until you get towards the top where a person can decide to get rid of an entire department with the stroke of a pen. And we've definitely seen that a lot lately with big tech as an example. But in addition to having your financial destiny effectively in someone else's hands, you also have the problem of being able to grow that income. It might not be that easy even at a really great job. And that could be for a variety of reasons. For one, you have the company itself. It might not have that big of a budget to actually spend on employees, or might be struggling for some reason, or the job itself just might not be that scalable or have that many opportunities for growing your income just within that job. So even if you love your job, I think it's clear that it makes sense to try and diversify your income outside of just your salary. And you've probably heard of ways to do that, like buying a piece of real estate, buying dividend stocks, or other sorts of investable assets that pay you some money to own them. Or if you're more of the reckless type, you might have been throwing money into crypto projects over the past couple of years, promising huge yields. But I want to pitch a different kind of investment that a lot of people probably haven't given much thought, and I hadn't until this past year when I finally made the plunge, and that's buying a small business. Now, before I go any further than that, yes, I understand that this won't be the best option for everyone, but everyone's financial situation is different. But even in that case, I think it makes sense to explore the opportunities that are out there, because you never know when that opportunity might become the best one further down the line as you change your own financial situation. But anyways, buying a small business, why does it potentially make a lot of sense for someone who might be completely reliant on their salary at the present moment? Well, for one, if you're buying a profitable business with fairly stable cash flows, it's an additional income stream, so you're diversifying your income. But the cool thing about this particular income stream is you can put effort towards trying to grow it. It's a much more scalable opportunity as long as you're in a business that can scale in some way, which is likely the case if you're buying a fairly successful small business in your area or wherever you're looking to invest. And you'd be surprised at the variety of businesses that are out there for sale in all sorts of different niches and specialties and industries. For my first business purchase, I ended up settling on a carpet and steam cleaning business. It's a pretty simple business to understand. You're cleaning things, and there's some machinery to operate and maintain, so there's a bit of a learning curve, but it's pretty simple once you spend a little time learning about it. But there are tons of different types of businesses out there, ranging from service-based businesses like the one I bought to businesses that sell physical products, or even restaurants that sell food. And you also have online businesses that you might be able to get into, like blogs or e-commerce websites. So there's lots of different opportunities out there in pretty much any sub-niche that you can think of. And the reason I say this is because you could probably find a business for sale pretty close to you that's within a niche that you would probably be pretty interested in, or at least a business that would be simple enough to learn even if you're relatively new to the whole business and entrepreneurial game. But if and when you find and buy a small business, unlike a salaried job, you actually own something. You own an asset. The business itself is an asset. So if you work on building that thing and getting it to be more valuable, you actually have something that you could sell, that you could liquidate, whereas with a job, you can't exactly sell yourself any further than you already are to take on the salary. So in addition to having the ability to scale your income, you also have an ability to scale your equity in that business. And if you don't like your salaried job, you now have something that you could take some more pride in, or at least get more excited about, since it's something that you're building, it's something that you made a very intentional step to try and buy. So even if it's not an easier process, it might be more enjoyable in the meantime, and that's worth something. So maybe you like the sound of this idea. How do you actually go forward and buy a a small business? Well, there are a few ways to do it, and because you have a salary, you have some advantages in that you probably have a greater ability to go and get debt to buy the business, and you sort of have a safety net built in after you buy the business, assuming you keep your salary job and you're able to run that business on a part-time or even full-time basis and just put in huge hours, but not recommending that by any means. It depends on what you want to do. But having that salary can both help to buy the business in the first place, but also to maintain any payments that you have to make after you've bought it. But whether you go to a bank to get financing or you ask the seller to finance the deal, and that's where you pay the seller over time rather than giving them all the money up front, you're definitely going to want to have some reserves set aside before you get into this deal, because you're going to want to have some reserves for when you run into hiccups with the business or if things don't go as well as originally planned, and you want to have some room. Because if you're new to the business ownership game, there's probably going to be a lot to learn, and you're going to want some room to learn those things. I've certainly learned a lot since I've bought my small business, and there's always going to be more to learn. So the point is, you want to have some reserves. But I think the most important thing, assuming you've already committed to trying to buy a business, is to narrow your search. It can be very easy to get overwhelmed in your search, especially if you're already spending a bunch of time on a salaried job. So you want to make your search as efficient as possible. Make sure you're spending the time where it should be spent. But if you're not sure you want to do something like this, at least take some time to look around. You can go on sites like BizBuySell and take a look at the various businesses that might be for sale in your area and just take a look and see what's out there. And if you start getting more interested, you can always ask for more information. You ask the seller if they could provide more information on the business, or if you could set up a meeting with the listing agent, or just do something to take a small step forward, assuming you're interested in the end goal, which would be buying a small business. And if you decide it's not for you, you don't have to do it. It's ultimately up to you, but at least know that it is an option. It's something that could be potentially very powerful. Buying a small business, scaling that business, even not scaling that business, just having that additional income stream can be really powerful and can give you a lot more options to do whatever it is you want in your life. Because when you have your finances in order, you just have more options in general. Of course, there's a lot to talk about, so be sure to subscribe, since I'll have a bunch of other videos about small business investing and running a business, and the many different things I'll be learning in my own journey with owning and operating a business. And I'll have videos about other stuff too, so you can subscribe for those as well. Regardless, thanks for watching.